The Battle of Darayya was fought from the end of 2012 to the beginning of 2013 between the Syrian army and the Syrian rebels in the Damascus suburbs of Darayya. Background: Darayya is a suburb of Damascus where rebels have attempted to create a stronghold near Damascus center. In August 2012, the Syrian army defeated the rebel forces and took control of the town. After the failed rebel offensive in late July 2012, the Syrian army started a campaign against rebels in Damascus suburb that led to a massacre in Darayya, with an estimated 500 people were found executed, with rebels and government accusing each other of being responsible for the massacre. Battle. The rebels again took control of the town in November 2012. Since, the city has been cut off, its electricity cut, and has witnessed a continuous shelling. Most of the residents fled as soon as the battle started. The rebels were successful at preventing the Syrian army from entering the town until mid-December, when the army started to intensify their attacks on the city and the nearby city of Modmiyah. On the 20th of December, after 30 days of siege, the newspaper Al-Watan, close to the government, reported an army progress into Darayya, where the army penetrated the city and isolated rebels fighters in the city center. Al-Watan added that most of the fighters were foreigners. On the 31st of December, the army launched its biggest attack on the city, with columns of armed vehicles trying to progress into the city. The rebels' attempts to hit the presidential palace and Alawites' neighborhood with their homemade rockets were one of the reasons for the assault. On the 4th of January, an opposition activist reported that the Syrian army was meeting a very strong resistance in Darayya, but that the Syrian soldiers managed to advance into the main street. The army was also firing from their artillery positions located in the Mount Qashem on the orchards around Darayya. The Syrian Observatory, a rebel group, told that the army was sending more reinforcement to Darayya, while Al-Watan newspaper wrote that the army won the Darayya battle. On the 5th of January, the Syrian army arrested Mohammed Zawahiri, the brother of the supreme leader of Al-Qaeda in Darayya. Russian Today Arabic correspondent was slightly injured when he felt on his hand while running to avoid being caught in crossfire. His reports show the army in control and patrolling most of the town. Rebels spread into different areas of Darayya, and the army still needed several mopping-up operations to declare the area as safe. On the same day, the rebel group Syrian Observatory reported that 10 people died in the fighting, including 6 rebels. On the 6th of January, the Syrian army killed a number of rebels near the Al-Qashaya school in Darayya, and named the following rebels: Odeh al-Ward, Ahed Radwan, Mutaz Mansour, Khalid al-Khatib, Omar Madwa, Tariq al-Dabus, and Muhammad Tabaw as being among the dead. Several other rebel groups were killed by the army in the other Damascus suburbs, including 12 who were named by the army. On the 8th of January, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights stated that the Syrian army had taken control of parts of Darayya and was sending more soldiers to push for the full conquest of the town. On the 13th of January, concording sources, from security officials to rebels groups, revealed that the Syrian army had taken much of Darayya, entering most of the neighborhoods. On the 19th of January, it was reported that the rebels were still in control of parts of Darayya in spite of fierce clashes and heavy shelling by government forces. Rebels also claimed that a MiG pilot in Darayya had defected and used his fighter jet to bombard 3 army positions in the area, killing 15 soldiers of the 4th Syrian Army Brigade, although this was not independently confirmed. The rebel commander Abu Ali was killed in the shelling of rebels' positions. On the 24th of January, the government was shelling Darayya from positions on the Kasharoun mountain range west of Damascus. On the 14th of February, the Syrian army attempted to push further into Darayya, but rebels were able to repel the offensive. In March, rebel forces were continuing to repel the advances of government forces, and captured a tank from them. Aftermath. In early August, state media reportedly showed that al-Assad visited his troops in Darayya, although SOHR was reporting the Syrian army shelling Darayya as recently as late June, and opposition activists report fighting as recently as mid-July. Additionally, Russia Today reported one of its journalists was wounded the same week in Darayya from rebels within the city firing mortars back. On 30 December 2013, Syrian government helicopter gunship targeted Darayya with 3 barrel bombs. The barrel bombs landed near Al-Ansari and Al-Mustafa mosques, in the western part of the city, which has been under a tight siege by government forces for over a year.